Piccolo would be quite confused about what he had told him, since he didn't think something like that could exist.
If those portals come from another world, it means that someone from there gave you that special power. But I'm not an expert on that subject. Maybe you can ask someone else.
Very well, then I'll have to continue to find out the origin of this.
But for now, don't let your guard down. Do what that thing tells you. We don't know what kind of punishments you might suffer.
Sure, Piccolo. I'll keep that in mind. In this way, Goku would leave the place flying, since after listening to Piccolo, it was clear that he had to follow the instructions of the system. For that reason, he planned to use the key from the beginning to go to the dungeon he had been entrusted with. Now that Goku understood better how the dungeon system worked, he would follow Piccolo's advice about following the instructions given to him. Since being something from another world, it was better to avoid any kind of punishment that the system could give to his body. For that very reason, Goku had decided to go and use the key he had been given in one of his rewards, which was for his special dungeon. It didn't take him long to reach the entrance of the dungeon, which was located in a forest full of trees. In that place, there was a small lock surrounded by a kind of transparent wall, where the key had to be placed in order to access the special dungeon.
It seems that this is simple.
I just have to put the key there, right? While Goku began to place the key to open the dungeon, the system would indicate that in that place there were no creatures like before, but they were of S rank. Because Goku had increased his intelligence thanks to the points of the system, he would understand that they were stronger creatures, which only excited him even more, since he wanted to check how powerful they could be.
If the system is telling the truth, it means that this enemy is stronger than all those creatures I faced before. I hope it's worth it.
After having said that, he would enter the special dungeon while stretching a bit. The system would alert him that he had entered a special dungeon, and shortly after that, the entrance would close. The entrance would only reopen after defeating the boss of that dungeon, which didn't bother Goku as he just wanted to fight. The place seemed to be full of fire and there were several debris around. It was as if the place had been totally destroyed by some creature. Goku was watching the place carefully, because the perception ability that the system gave him helped him to perceive the boss of the dungeon. "So there you are," Goku said as he realized that the dungeon boss was behind him. It was a giant three-headed canine, better known as Cerberus, the guardian that protected the entrance to the underworld. Goku would turn around to look directly at it, surprised by its appearance, as it seemed quite striking to him.
"You are definitely different from the others I defeated."
That creature didn't seem to give much importance to what Goku was saying, since all he was thinking about was attacking him, since he considered him as an intruder. Because of that, Goku quickly got into combat position in order to be ready to receive its attack.
"Attack with everything!"
That three-headed beast quickly tried to stomp on Goku with all its power, as it didn't want to give him a chance to attack. That would cause a strong tremor in that place in ruins, but to the surprise of that beast, Goku had stopped with his own hands that stomp that he had tried to give him.
Wow, that was an interesting attack.
Shortly after that, Goku lifted the beast from its legs, sending it flying through the destroyed buildings of the dungeon. This seemed to have caused damage to the creature from the impact, so it felt extremely furious with Goku.
"Come on, don't tell me that's the best you can do."
At that instant, the creature would give a loud roar to activate its Enrage ability to increase all of its stats by an extra 100%, becoming even stronger. But apparently it didn't just get stronger, as suddenly the system would warn Goku that the creature had become immune to physical attacks for a while. This would surprise Goku, as apparently the system's warning was serious. Because the portals belong to other worlds, Goku is now also affected by the rules of such abilities there. This was mostly because the system was testing Goku to see what he could do against these situations. The three-headed beast came back at Goku more aggressively, trying to bite him with each of its jaws. Goku would hit it with one of his punches, but it seemed that the creature resisted his attack. However, even if the physical attacks were ineffective, he was still much faster than the beast, so he avoided its attacks easily. This situation reminded him a bit of when he faced one of Babidi's minions, specifically the warrior known as Yakon, since on the occasion Goku could not transform into Super Saiyan because his ability was to absorb light.
I didn't think these dungeons would have so many surprises, but it makes it interesting.
At that instant, Goku just smiled excitedly and took a big leap in the air as he began to charge a powerful energy attack. being the Kamehameha. Hitting is not my only advantage, I have more than one way to deal with my opponents. Cerberus would try to make a big jump to reach Goku before the end of the attack, but it was too late, because in that instant there would be a big flash, because Goku was ready to finish him off. And in just an instant, Goku's Kamehameha shot out towards the creature, impacting squarely against the large Cerberus and easily pulverizing it. That would cause a huge explosion all over the place, causing the surrounding buildings to end up shattering completely. When everything calmed down, the system would give him the notice that he had defeated Cerberus, which had made him go up several levels. But not only that, as he had also acquired some materials on his behalf. Among them, he had been given another special key, which was to enter the castle that Cerberus was guarding. They had even given him an item that increased Goku's abilities by an extra 20% when equipped. And as a final reward, they had also given him a very special formula, which was used to make something called the Elixir of Life, which could cure any disease. The items to make this elixir were found in the Demon's Castle, which was a place of similar difficulty. Goku was now aware that the portals would sometimes test him to fight in different ways, as that creature had become resistant to physical attacks, as if it were a game's own limitation. It's just as Piccolo said, this world is run by its own rules, which in this case seemed to affect me as well. While Goku was thinking about that, he would open the system interface to raise his points again. As usual, he would raise his strength and agility, but a part of his points would also go to his intelligence, in order to continue to better understand the advantages of the game system. Once he finished raising his points, the system would give him another alert, allowing him to understand that he had reached the sufficient level to change class, so he could perform a special dungeon to acquire a special ability, depending on what he obtained. Goku was determined to complete that dungeon, as he didn't want to be overconfident if he was limited like he was against that creature. I'd better start leveling up. At that instant, he would use the teleportation stone to leave the dungeon immediately, causing the portal to close. Once that was done, the system would tell him where to go to access the dungeon that would allow him to change classes to learn a new skill. I feel like I'm advancing pretty fast. Maybe that's why the system can test me even more, but it doesn't matter. I'll get through this. Goku quickly began to fly to where the system was telling him to go, in order to complete the class change dungeon at once. But while he was taking care of that, the other normal portals around the city were being purged by Vegeta himself, who had also experienced an awakening after discovering the portals, so he was also taking care of the ones that had appeared. Although he did not have the power of the system, he had also acquired some abilities by being classified as a fighter in his awakening, and after a while of flying, Goku would finally arrive at the place that the system marked. Almost immediately, the interface would ask him if he really wanted to do the class change dungeon, since they were Class A enemies. Goku only smiled to show that he accepted the challenge, so without hesitation he accepted the mission. Sure, let's give it our all. After having accepted, a large portal of purple and dark tones opened before him, being bigger than the portals he had entered before. This would surprise him a bit, but Goku entered the portal anyway to face whatever was on the other side. Once through the portal, he would find himself in a sort of rather long hallway of a castle, in which there didn't seem to be anything. But immediately Goku realized with his perception ability that there was something nearby, a knight, who seemed to be alone, as he couldn't see more of his kind around. The knight began to fence with his sword to attack when he realized that Goku was an intruder. Upon observing that, Goku didn't even give him a second to attack the knight, as he instantly lunged to shatter his armor with a single impact of his fists. This he had done to check if his punches were not limited as before, but apparently everything was normal, as he had finished off that knight easily. This would cheer Goku up a bit, as he was pleased to know that he could fight his own way. Great! Now I can warm up more! Suddenly, the system would alert him that he had acquired the knight armor, which could be equipped on his body to reduce the amount of physical damage by 8%. At first, Goku wasn't sure if he should use something like this, as he didn't like the idea of wearing armor to fight. However, Goku would equip it to see if it really was as uncomfortable as he thought it would be. Upon equipping it, he would find that the armor was actually transparent, which pleased Goku, as he didn't have to look like one of those armored knights. Besides that, it apparently didn't affect his speed at all. since it didn't feel heavy at all to him. This is really cool. I don't mind this armor at all, and it also gives me advantages. The system really thinks of everything. While he was excited about the advantages of the system, several more knights would approach him to attack him, as they could not allow him to go any further into the castle. But Goku would only clash his fists together, showing that he was ready to fight the knights. Alright, everyone come and get me! All the knights began to rush at once against Goku, using their heavy swords to try to finish him off.